David Morgan with you in the Investment Pitch Studios in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Also at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, and Graham O'Neill sitting across. But Graham, we met at the Silver Summit in San Francisco just a few months back. I got to learn a little bit about the story, but we're here today to learn about Bayhorse Silver. So first thing, where is Bayhorse Silver?
Well, Bayhorse Silver is obviously located in Vancouver here, but our first mine is the Bayhorse Silver Mine, which was last mined in 1984. Grades of 17 to 20 ounces a ton, patented ground, so we're permitted to go mining straight away without any further ado. We've rehabbed the adit and ready now to take grade ore out, upgrade it using the dense media and ore sorting, which is brand new technologies, and then the other mine we have, which we've just entered an agreement with up in Silver Valley, sits between Kellogg and Smelterville, and it's called Bridging the Gap, and it bridges the gap between the Bunker Hill mine to the east and the Page mine to the west. That was part of Asako's mining portfolio. Essentially, it's a substantial grades both in lead, silver, lesser so in zinc, and it's again patented ground. We can go mining straight away.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. You threw a lot at me.
Oh,
so the Bayhorse, the Bayhorse is where in Oregon? Is that right?
It's about 26 miles north of Ontario, just off of I-84.
Okay.
Both mining projects, Bayhorse and the Bridge the Gap, are both off major freeways. I-90 for Bridging the Gap, I-84 for the Bayhorse Silver Mine.
Okay. So one of the first things we look at is, what's the infrastructure look like, excuse me. Looks great. And management's the other thing, do you have anything, how much have you got in this project yourself, and what's your investment shareholder list look like?
Well, we've got 28 million shares issued right now, and in this economic climate, just the fact that we've managed to hold that share issuance is a major thing. I own 15% of the company, and approximately 50% of the company, maybe 55, is owned by 13 or 14 shareholders.
Well, it's very tight, so you must get a lot of phone calls on almost everything you do, or are they pretty quiet?
Well, over this last year, I must say that the phone calls have dropped off.
Yeah.
No one wants to know about precious metals, but this is the best time when no one wants to know about them to take advantage of low prices.
Couldn't agree more. You've got two of the stalwarts in the industry, Rick Rule and Robert Friedland, both saying this is the time fortunes are made. And I want to emphasize the fact with 17 ounces a ton, this is very, very rich grades in today's world. I mean, a lot of silver projects that I'm well aware of are, in the 3-4 ounces and, claim to be viable. And then, of course, if you add on the zinc and lead, when we're looking at those type of grades, if I'm doing the math in my head correctly, we're looking at something like maybe $250 to maybe even $300 per ton situation here. So that's something that's pretty significant these days. So what's the strategy of the company going forward? Are you going to do one project and then the other one? Are you going to, what's the strategy of the company?
Well, our strategy is, first of all, we're focused. We're solely focused on silver. We've pushed aside our other projects, which I still believe are viable in a great market, but we can't be all things to all people. And I have to look at my shareholder base and say, this is what we're doing. So our initial focus is on the Bayhorse Silver Mine. We've got grades up to 4,835 ounces a ton, reported in some of our news releases. It's not the whole mine, but when you have grades like that, you better go after them. So in 1976, Andy Wallace from Cordex Cordex Exploration, and Andy is a PhD. He's been running Cordex for all those years. So when we entered into the agreement to acquire the Bayhorse Silver Mine, he called me and he said, Graham, I've got all this data, which I did in 1976. Would you like to buy it? In a heartbeat. So fast forwarded our program by an enormous amount and also reduced our costs because we didn't have to go exploring to prove up what we thought was there.
Sure.
Additionally, Silver King Mines mined about 5,700 tons in 1984. Now, 23% graded between 20 and 100 ounces a ton. 71% graded between 6 and 20 ounces a ton, and 6%, which is only about 300 tons, graded under 6 ounces a ton. So they used a cutoff of 6 ounces a ton. What's really interesting about that is that one of an acquaintance or associate of Dr. Stuart Jackson, who's one of our consultants, he actually did, at the time, a resource estimate. We're obviously not allowed to call it a resource anymore, but he has a historic estimate of 160,000 tons at 17 to 20 ounces a ton in a zone that's 85 feet wide, 22 feet thick, and goes for a minimum of 840 feet. Well, what's interesting about this is that it's never been explored into the hill. So while we know from mining records that this is there, we have a potential for another 2,000 feet into the mountain. And so we have a target, an exploration target, of based upon the 17 to 20 ounces a ton, and based upon the widths, if they still, and the thickness, if they still hold true, of probably up to 1 million tons exploration target at 17 to 20 ounces a ton.
Getting me excited.
Well, a lot of people will blink their eyes and they say, are you sure?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You're not sure.
We're not sure. But we have an adit in which goes 370 feet. We've completely refurbished the adit except for the last 70. And just in the last couple of months, between acquiring the Bridging the Gap project and Ron Kruzmark, the mining engineer, who is absolutely a fabulous engineer, mining engineer. He's hands-on with Heckler and pretty much every single mine in the Silver Valley. We've now got him to take care of the engineering and the structure down at Bayhorse. So mining is about people. It's about money, and it's about grade. Well, we've got the people, and we've got the grade. We just need additional funds, and in this economic climate, that's always been the challenge.
Great. So tell me a little bit about the share structure. How many shares are in the float, and what's the volume on, let's say, a daily basis or weekly basis, however you want to state it?
Well, as I mentioned, 28 million shares issued. Over 50% of the company is held by approximately 13, 14 shareholders. I'm the largest single shareholder at 15%. We trade on an average of anywhere from 30 to 50 to 100,000 shares a day. It's been varying just prior to Christmas because of tax selling and stuff, so volume has dropped a little bit. But we've got people that are picking up shares on a daily basis, and they're taking them from people that obviously don't have patience.
Right. And why silver? I mean, it's certainly not the most popular precious metal out there right now. I mean, I know my reasons. What are your reasons?
Well, the thing is, as a principal of the company, I can't be all things to all people. We've been focused on precious metals pretty much from the word go. And we've been looking to get cash flow, because cash flow takes us away from this fund, spend. I've always liked silver, so that's as good a reason as any. But I like the fact that we've found silver mines that can actually go into production right away and give us cash flow. So if silver was $5 an ounce, obviously it wouldn't be economic. But we've used technology, namely the ore sorting, which has recently come into focus. In fact, Teck is just entering an ore sorting agreement. And we've found through the engineers that we've had working on the ore sorting side of things have identified that it's particularly useful for silver. So, but aside from that, it's the poor man's gold. You can buy more of it. A lot of people are not able to go and buy an ounce of gold, mainly because of the price. And while it's still fungible, it's not as fungible as silver. Silver is the practical everyman's gold,
Right.
if you will.
Sure, great. So I think we've got a pretty good feel for Bayhorse. Let's talk about bridging the gap and how that fits into the bigger picture of the company.
Well, when we decided to focus solely on silver, we realized that with a small amount of funding, we can get production and cash flow. So at that point, and again, this is all about people, I've spent 3 or 4 years talking to people in the Silver Valley. The owner of the Bayhorse silver mine lives in Spokane. It's all about silver in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. So through associations with him, he introduced to me other people. And basically they saw that I was someone who was going to go out and make things happen rather than sit around and wait. So just prior to the Silver Summit in San Francisco, I was approached by the owner of the Bayhorse silver mine to see whether I wanted to look at bridging the gap, which was called Government Gulch at the time. But when I found out that the reason Government Gulch was the holding ground, shall we say, for the miners' revolt in the late 1800s, I thought, I don't want anything to do with that name. So we changed it to Bridging the Gap. But anyway, so because I have an association with these people, they trust me, they rely upon me, and they actually call me a force of nature because I just keep plugging away and don't let anything stop me. They asked if I would be interested in taking it on. I saw it as an absolute perfect fit. With Bridging the Gap and Silver Valley especially, it's been mined for 120 years minimum.
Oh yeah.
They've mined over 1.4 billion ounces of silver at it. The structures are known intimately. Costs are known intimately. So there's none of this, we have to find out the structure, we have to find out the cost. It's all known. So we can, for example, say if we have the grades, we absolutely know what the mining costs are going to be. Additionally, and I hate to think about it, the golf course is half a mile away from the Bridge in the Gap. The Walmart is a mile away. It's right on I-90. So from a standpoint of logistics, and I always look at logistics, there is no cost to get in. Power's there, water's there, knowledge is there. There's a huge mining infrastructure there. They even have underutilized mills there. So we don't have to build a mill. We don't have to figure out whether we can get permits or not. Because in the state of Idaho, if you have patented ground, you can go mining with no restrictions. You can get on the ground tomorrow, funding being available, and you can work tomorrow. So we saw it as an absolute fit. We saw that we were going to get away from this funding issue by getting the cash flow from the Bayhorse silver mine. So it was just, as far as I was concerned, a no-brainer.
Great. Well, you've got strong management. You've got good expertise. You've got a great geologist. You've got 2 projects, not one, which I like. I don't like, one project deals, although we look at everything. My favorite metal, silver, and you're coming in at, I think, the right time. To repeat, Robert Friedland and Rick Rule, fortunes are made at the bottom.
Exactly.
So it looks like you got a lot of upside. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I haven't really sort of gone into the technology which makes these mines viable in even low price environments. We've done a substantial amount of work with ore sorting and also on dense media. Now, dense media has been around for a while, but we've worked with a company out of Vancouver here, both Metallurgical Lab and their parent company, and they've designed a dense media plant which is small. It's probably less than the size of a shipping container, and you can run 10 to 20 ton an hour through there. And
okay, let me stop you there. Just, I'm a layman. What does dense media mean, and how does it work? Or maybe you were getting to that.
well, dense media is very simply the fact that silver, lead, zinc ore is much heavier than waste rock. So if you've got, and let's just stay on Bayhorse for a moment, 20 ounces a ton. That's about a kilogram a ton, not quite a kilogram a ton. So that's probably 2.2 pounds of silver out of 1998. So what happens is, without using dense media, you have to ship it to a mill, or you have to put a mill on site. Now, milling on site is a permitting nightmare. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to permit a mill. So what we do is we get rid of that, most of that 1,980 pound or 1,998 pound of waste rock. So we use what's called a silicate ferrosilicate mixture with water, and you adjust the specific gravity of that so that when you put rock through it, anything under 2.6 specific gravity, and SG of 1 is water, so SG of 2.6 is typically most of the waste rock. It floats along the top, goes away, thank you very much. And what sinks is anything over 2.6, which is the heavies, the copper. We've got about 1% copper at Bayhorse. Lead, we've got about 1% lead as well. Okay. And that holds all the silver. So that sinks. And it means we can upgrade the material from, let's say, 20 ounces a ton up to 8 times, which is 160 ounces a ton. So if you figure out that a truckload permitted on the highway is 80 tons, 40 tons, 80,000 pounds, 160 ounces times 40 tons means that truckload is worth about $100,000. Whereas if you truck 20 ounces a ton, it's about $12,000, and the trucking cost is about 10-12%. So the trucking cost at $100,000 a truckload is not even 1%.
Well, educate me a little further, Graham. Is it grade high enough where it's considered direct shipping ore, or do you have to?
Well, that's what the dense media and the ore sorting does, is it creates direct shipping ore. Direct shipping is 130 ounces a ton plus. So we eliminate the mill and we ship direct shipping ore. Now, ore sorting over the years has really advanced. So it was initially used for diamonds, as an example. They used the light characteristics of diamonds to flick them out. And ore sorting was essentially used to separate the waste stream from garbage in that. And they very rapidly realized it could be applied to minerals. So it's advanced so rapidly now that, again, we have a company in Vancouver that manufactures ore sorting equipment. Again, the size of a shipping container. So utilizing one or both in conjunction or separately, we can, ore sorting wise, eliminate probably half of the waste right off the bat as it comes out of the mine. And it may not be direct shipping grade unless we're running 50 ounces a ton or better, which we know is there. And so utilizing it in conjunction with dense media, we eliminate a substantial 60-70% of the waste material, direct shipping grade. So it becomes economic even in these tough times. And the cash flow from that, we're going to put into the Bridging the Gap.
Very good. Well, quite a story. I really appreciate hearing it all. How do people find out more information?
Well, bayhorsesilver.com is our website. We have majority of information there, except of course for the stuff that is confidential. We're available. We have an office here in Vancouver. The phone number is on the website. And we're happy to take anyone's information if they're interested in the company.
Great. And for the record, I'm going to make a trip out there. I live pretty much in the local area, as you know. We've already spoken about that. I'm not going to do it in the dead of winter. I'm just too big of a wimp these days. But
Well, but you know something, because it's off the freeway,
yeah,
you can go up there and you don't even have to be a wimp.
yeah, that's true. No, I could probably go anytime. I'm booked like for the whole month of February, but March I think we can do it.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to see it.
Well, Ron Kruzmark, our mine engineer, lives right there in Silver Valley, and he's got enormous contacts. As an example, he's put together a mining team ready for both the mines, and that's something that is been very difficult when prices are higher.
Well, Graham, a true pleasure. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you very much,
Best of
David. I
luck with,
appreciate you interviewing me about our projects, and I look forward to seeing you up on the Bridging the Gap.
Great. I'll be there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.